Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing No Man's Sky, where depleting the resources of a thriving planet is not just accepted, but encouraged. So with that said, let's get into it. Right away we wake up in Narnia with a perpetual winter. And right away we make our first friend, a radioactive soccer ball. But of course we run into our first problem. Apparently we broke the scanner while entering Narnia, so naturally we have to harvest the lands for our personal gain. Give me that dust. And just like that, we're back to normal. But what's this? Turns out that everything is broken and we need to collect more materials. So we find a plant that has actually survived the bitter cold, and harvest it to place in our life support systems. But look at that. The fun just won't stop. Now we have a waypoint to strive for, and I won't let the cold stop me from investigating. And looky here. Hello, Mr. Obsidian Monolith. Nice to meet you. Well, I didn't understand that at all, but firing my weapon is always a great course of action. Oh, you didn't like that. Well, fine, mysterious rock, I don't need you. Well, after that lovely little detour, we finally made it to our destination. And look, more radioactive sporting equipment, along with various bits of wreckage and a spaceship. Naturally, we need to put all of this junk into our inventory first, but then let's take to the skies. Oh, it's broken too. Well, that's to be expected. And there it is. So onward and upward we go. This is a bit farther away than normal, and unfortunately it seems like there is an incoming blizzard. Now, the game wants me to hide in a cave or building, but why do that when you can ignore all sense and just run headlong into the snow? And it's with this infinite wisdom that we make it to the buildings in record time, with plenty of a margin of safety. And what are the chances? That's the exact part that we need. So naturally we head straight back into the wasteland to make it back to our ship and take to the skies. We're ready for adventure and whimsy and... oh, turns out the launch systems are damaged too. Well, not to worry. Thankfully, we've culled the environment already, so we already have most of the necessary materials. The only thing to do is learn how to refine rocks into fancier rocks. And then finally, we can take to the skies and explore the vast cosmos. Wait, what is this? A scam call? Well, I'm not saying anything. And just like that, they take my silence as an invitation to share their coordinates with us. Now that's good internet safety. And as we're headed there, we might as well scan the planet to see what we're working with. And looky here, a paradise planet. Well, that sounds lovely and relaxing. So off we go. And as we approach, we can see what a paradise it truly is, with the irradiated waters of the bog and industrial waste that's visible as soon as we exit our spaceship. This truly is paradise. And after scanning around and seeing that we have to run a full 300 feet to get to our next destination, we decide that that's way too much effort. So we take to the skies, and we're immediately rewarded with a brand new base computer, which will allow us to make this semi-questionable paradise our forever home. In other news, we also receive the means to destroy the world itself with a terrain manipulator. Naturally, this is incredibly exciting, so we install this right away and get to work hunting down some more ways to exploit the planet's resources. Speaking of, it seems like we need some copper, so let's hop in our ship and take off. And with that, we can burn the resources we pulled from the Earth to create exactly what we need. Once we have that, we quickly fly back to our favorite irradiated paradise and take a dip in the liquid uranium hot tub. Now for the fun part. Let's find the best place we could start our life here. We could go here or here, but we all know where the heart of our new civilization should be. And that's underwater in the midst of all this glowing H2O. And thank you, game, for deciding that this is a perfectly acceptable location for our new home. And with that, we get the parts needed to build our beach getaway. But since I'm an adventurous sort, I decide that it's not worth following the game's instructions anymore. So off I go to exploration of the vast cosmos ahead of me. And what's this on the horizon? It looks like a volcano, but if it's not, it will at least be an interesting rock, I'm sure. And looky here, it seems like it's a space station just floating adrift. So let's check it out. Now this is a nice looking space station, but something has immediately caught my eye. That looks like the currency symbol. And where there's currency, there's profit to be made. And upon further investigation, it seems that there is a vast stock market consisting of valuable items such as dirt, grease, and other assorted oddities, like a quantum computer. Unfortunately, we're too poor to even afford dirt, so we sell a little bit of the junk that we've accumulated, and then set our sights on how to make some more money. And it seems like chromatic metal is the most valuable basic material that we own, so we'll sock that knowledge away for later. But with that, I've seen all I need to see from the space station, and since the tooltip in the bottom right is, oh, so persistent, I decide that it's time to head back to civilization, using this fancy portal thing. And one quantum leap later, we're back to our home. Thankfully deep underwater with our ship parked next to us. I'm sure that's great for the electronics. Now it's time to placate the tooltip. It looks like there's a few pieces I need to place to make this an acceptable shelter, so naturally I'm going to see how far I can push the limits here. And after a brief reading over the UI at the top of the screen, I see two very interesting options: rotate and cycle axis. And these two options alone let us create a beautiful amalgamation of a home. And of course, to finish it all off, we need to move the wall out of the way to place in a front door. And that seems just about perfect to hide us from the storm that rolled in while we were creating this masterpiece. As you can see from these wild fluctuations, it's working just as intended. With that masterpiece finished, we get a new recipe that the game wants us to use. So we burn the fancy rocks from earlier to get the fanciest rocks, and this unlocks a world of possibilities as we place the Advanced Technological Research Unit underwater. And look at all these fun options, but the one that's caught my eye is this teleporter up here. If we get this working, we may be able to skip all of that laborious travel between here and the space station, which would do wonders for our quest to maximize our profits from this sleepy underwater town. But to do that, we need salvaged data. These pockets of data can be found with a quick scan. And hey, look! The consequences of my actions. Guess that means we're walking. And on the way, we harvest materials to create Starship launch fuel, to maximize our laziness for later, of course. But with all of the data that we need collected and a massive flying crab squid to greet on our way back, we make it back to our beachfront property and unlock the portal. And since we were an overachiever, we also get to unlock the biofuel reactor. And then we grab the recipe for wires for free, which is my favorite price to be attached to anything. Before setting up my fancy new teleporter though, the game lets me know that I can rename my base, which I think is a great decision to trust me with that kind of power. And I can't think of a more apt name than this, so Biohazardtopia it is. But once we take care of that important task, we create our portal underwater as is our custom. Insufficient power? Well, luckily for you I was proactive for once and have a biofuel reactor to solve this problem. But let's get a little bit more creative with this one. It would make way too much sense to put the reactor next to the portal. So after a brief look around, I remember a wonderful functionality that we can use. The terrain manipulator has a great secondary mode where you can build the terrain instead of destroying it. Hypothetically, this could be great for making the terrain more natural looking or conducive to base building, but I think its best use case is to make a garish pillar in the center of our town. And a few moments later gives us the greatest new addition to our settlement. This seems like the perfect place for a power source. So after fueling it and running a power line in the most logical manner possible, we see the magnitude of my genius and we have power. And once again, my foresight knows no bounds as the next broadcast I receive tells me to head to the space station. Sure thing, fancy computer. And with that, I feel like everything is perfectly in place for us to make ridiculous amounts of money. And next time we'll start the grand journey of profit. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. See y'all soon.